Don, are we gonna see stuff on these screens too?
Hey, John, Bill.
Because I don't see it now. Everybody's welcome to have a seat. Even if you work in the field, you're welcome to a chair.
Here's the guest cards. I thought we had, I guess most of them are. You all right?
My heel caught it.
Thank you.
My heel clipped it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We're not gonna need very long. We just need about 10 minutes at a time.
Call the meeting in order of the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation, this third day of August 2020. Rhonda, if you would, please call the roll.
Commissioner Brewster? Here. Commissioner Barwick? Here. Commissioner Hughes?
Here.
Commissioner Gaddis? Here. Commissioner Zeltz? Here. Commissioner Dillingham? Here. Commissioner Holder? Here. Commissioner Mabry?
Here. If you would, please stand for our invocation pledge, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Russ Horton.
Our Father in heaven, creator of all things, great and small, we're thankful. Morning that you look down on us in love and mercy. Consider the wonders, the magnificence of your creation. Humble that you've entrusted us with the stewardship. Thank you for your guidance. Our decisions would be according to your. Above all things, we're thankful for your Son. Hope that we have of eternal life will be because of his willingness to die. The decision was made for the courage of our sins. Help us to be faithful followers of his footsteps. That's in his name.
Amen.
JD, if you'll do our introduction of guests, please.
Certainly. We have very few guests with us here today as a result of the COVID situation, I would imagine, but we do have Richard Hatcher, no stranger to this place, the head of the Wildlife Foundation. Rick Grunman, who I think will be introduced maybe a little later in the agenda, but Rick is the new director of the Wildlife Foundation, so welcome, Rick. We also have with us Brandon and Breanne Adams, who will be on later in the agenda as guests today, so thank you all for being here. And Laura McIver wanted everybody to know that while she's not with us in the room, she is watching on live stream, so everybody wave at the camera. Hi, Laura. She doesn't miss any meetings, so that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, JD. I think you're still up on presentation of awards.
A lot of tenure awards this morning, which is great. Of course, we just recognize here at these commission meetings those that have put in 20 or more years of service for the department. And so we're going to start this morning with Joe Williams, who began back in 2000, now has 20 years of service with the department. He started actually as a technician at James Collins WMA, or he later became, after he, I think you started as an intern at Durant, actually, is how you got your start, right? Yeah, it's hard to spot people with their masks on, by the way, but then he became a wildlife technician at James Collins in 2014, fish technician 2017, and then assistant hatchery manager at Holdenville since 2019. He graduated from Southeastern with the conservation major, started again at the Durant Hatchery. He completed the leadership development program in 2011 and the wildlife resources program in 2018. Diverse skills and dedication to the department. He's built a lifelong career and passion for the Fisheries division and mission. Becoming the hatchery assistant manager has allowed him to head up hatchery research projects in Holdenville. He's an avid arrowhead hunter with a large collection of arrowheads, enjoys hunting and trapping. Recently completed construction of his forever home in Allen, Oklahoma, and enjoys spending time with his wife of 17 years and 2 daughters. So congratulations, Joe, on your 20 years of service with the department. You're welcome to address the commission if you'd like.
All right. I won't be too long, but thank you all. It's been a great 20 years and forward to 20 more maybe. We'll see. Thank you.
I hope so. I don't see him here. Nate, Tim's not here? Okay. We'll skip Tim then and go to Mark Walker, who has 25 years of service with the department. Began July 1995, game warden. His first assignment was Comanche County, then transferred to Blaine County in 1998. Became a warden supervisor in 2010. Other information to share: married to Lori, and they have 5 kids combined: Nathan, Natalie, Nicholas, Colby, and Macy. So that pretty much means you have no hobbies. Enjoy hunting, fishing, golf, attending the kids' sporting events, and traveling with Lori. He's a 2014 graduate of NACLAC, which is the law enforcement community's National Leadership Academy. His captain had many great things to say about him as well. One of the key things to note about Mark is there's nobody that does a better job at interdepartmental coordination and interdivision partnerships. This guy is out there with Fisheries division, net and walleye and saugeye for reproductive work and electrofishing, gill netting. Then he'll be out on lake renovation work at Lake Elmer, putting out fish structures, cedar trees, spider blocks, working the bulldozers, loaders, and skid steers as they do lake renovation, helping I&E division with many aspects of their hunter ed programs and that sort of thing, and then roll around helping wildlife division with trapping and restocking of wild turkeys back in the day when we did that, conducting prescribed burns and spotlight surveys and so on and so forth. So there's no better example of somebody that really gets into doing work and helping out all the divisions, not just doing his law enforcement work. So we appreciate you, Mark, for all the awesome work that you do for us, sir. Thank you for your 25 years of service. Mike is yours.
Well, thank you. It's flown by. I will not do another 20, like he will. Hopefully 5. Anyway, thank you all very much.
Thanks, Mark. Let me get situated here. All right. Next, we have Nathan Erdman, 25 years of service. Also started in July of 95. Game warden with the department, of course. He rose up through the ranks, warden supervisor in 2009, assistant chief of law enforcement division in 2016, and then, of course, for the past year almost, he's been our chief of law enforcement. Nate, too, has graduated from National Association of Conservation Law Enforcement Chiefs Leadership Academy, NACLEC. He went through last year our Governor's Executive Development Program for state officials. After 25 years, Nate still has the same passion for wildlife law enforcement that he had the day he started. He always looks at our business here in the headquarters building from a warden's perspective, and I can promise you is a great advocate for all the wardens out there when we talk about my crazy ideas or some new policy we want to implement. And what I appreciate most about Nate is that's my go-to guy if I need to get grounded on something. If I've got some wild, crazy idea and I want to really know what somebody thinks, I'm going to Nate and he will tell me, by God. So thank you, Nate, for your incredible service. We appreciate you.
Well, I'd like to just tell everybody thanks for putting up with me up here, and, you know, that the first 20 really went by fast, but when you get up here in the office, they don't go so fast anymore. So, well, I appreciate it, and it's been great working with each and every one of you. Look forward to working with you. Thank you.
So you're saying it's like a Bataan death march around here? Is that what you're saying? See, I told you, he isn't gonna mince words. All right, last but not least, 30 years of service, we have John Davenport here with us, who's hatchery supervisor for Fisheries Division. Started in June of 1990. He rose up through the ranks, promoted to hatchery manager at Holdenville in 1999, promoted to hatchery supervisor, overseeing all the hatchery operations statewide in 2015. He also serves, in addition to that supervisor duty, serves as the Holdenville State Fish Hatchery Manager. He began as an intern at the Durant State Fish Hatchery in April of 1988, graduated from Southeastern in 1987, where he was classmates with several notable staff, Jay Harvey, Warden, J.D. Ridge, and Ken Cunningham. So quite an austere class that you graduated with. I bet you all have quite a few stories on each other, don't you? That's a wild bunch, motley crew. John was recognized by Fisheries Division as the 2016 Fisheries Professional of the Year. He has 3 grandchildren that bring lots of joy to his life. At the urging of his new bride, Melissa, John has recently taken up gardening. So good for you. Congrats on 30 years. Thank you for your service, John.
It's been fun for 30 years and it's went by fast. I just seemed like yesterday I was just trying my best to get on full time with, and now the last 5 years has been an experience as a hatchery supervisor. There's been some challenges that I've had to deal with, but I appreciate the opportunity. I can guarantee I won't be here another 30 years, but it's been great, and I wouldn't change it for the world. Thank y'all.
Certainly want to thank you guys for the years of service and dedication to the Wildlife Department, each and every one of you. You guys are the people that make this department run, so thanks again for your service. Appreciate that. Next item, is consideration vote to approve, amend, reject, or take other action on the minutes of the June 17th meeting. Ask for a motion. Second?
Second.
Discussion?
Second.
Second. Reviews? Take a roll call.
Okay, Commissioner Brewster? Commissioner Barwick? Commissioner Hughes?
Aye.
Commissioner Gaddis? Commissioner Zeltz? Commissioner Dillingham? Commissioner Holder? Commissioner Mabry?
Aye. Okay, JD, Director's Report, please.
Thank you, sir. So I'll give Corey's typical legislative report because there's not a lot to report, and it saved us a seat being occupied in here. We didn't know what kind of capacity we would have. So you should have the director's report in your packet. Not a ton going on legislatively. There have been a number of interim studies. In fact, the House has 74 interim studies and Senate has 39 interim studies that have been approved They're supposed to be completed by the end of October. There are none that really deal with wildlife, with one exception, Representative Grego's interim study on the retrieval of hounds while hunting. That's an issue that comes up a lot. It's sort of a age-old battle between private property owners and hunters, and whether they should be able to go on your property to retrieve a dog. So we'll see how that interim study turns out, and hopefully, I'm sure we'll have the invitation to participate in that. Other than that, you can see there in the report links where you can go on and look at the other interim studies. There are a number that deal with just state agencies broadly, state employees, law enforcement, that sort of thing. So we'll continue to keep our eye, and I know Corey in particular, keep a watchful eye on those. You also have in your packet Brittany Preston's report of activities going on at congressional level and at the federal level. I will not read through that, but I do want to point out, recently you may have heard the Great American Outdoors Act was passed and signed by the president. That provides additional funding, in fact, quite a significant amount of funding for backlog of deferred maintenance on public lands. For the state of Oklahoma, the Land and Water Conservation Fund has always been accessed by State Department of Tourism and Recreation for state parks. So some states you see wildlife departments tapping into that funding for public land work at the state level. In our state, that's long gone to the Department of Tourism, in case you're wondering. So not a ton for us, the department, to glean out of that, but a good thing for Oklahoma's outdoors for sure. So I also will point out that the House did a markup on HR 2, that's the House, and then ultimately passed their Transportation Committee, their Invest in America Act. So it started really being the transportation infrastructure bill on the House side, and then it ended up becoming sort of a new stimulus bill coming out of the House side, and in it they included the Recovering America's Wildlife Act. So, you know, that's a piece of legislation that I've been talking about now for a couple of years that we've been pushing, that would provide $1.6 billion, $1.4 billion over 5 years for conservation, for wildlife conservation. And in particular, it's for sort of the species of greatest conservation need, things that are approaching threatened or endangered, or just, you know, one of the species that we're concerned about to try to keep them from being listed in the first place. So they also passed it in that infrastructure bill with no match requirement, which was one of the big challenging things a lot of us had talked about. So at least for the next 5 years, if this does in fact get included in the Senate's transportation and infrastructure bill and then reconciled together and makes it through the process, it'll mean in the neighborhood of 16 to 18 million more dollars per year for us to be able to tap into for mostly non-game wildlife work. So stay tuned for that. I'll just let you read the rest of Brittany's federal report and bounce back to my director update. You can see the calendar there. We did have the WAFWA, the Western Association of Fish and Wildlife Agencies virtual meeting. That was the first of the big wildlife organization meetings that I've had online so far, and there's several more coming up, but it was an interesting test of your virtual meeting fortitude, because it was about 5 days long, and you're sitting in front of a computer screen most of that time. And so it was interesting, but at that meeting, I was elected president of WAFWA too at the end. So I know Commissioner Barwick participated in couple of days of meetings for commissioners and directors, and overall a great meeting. I was surprised how well it went off despite being glued to a computer screen for way too long. The governor held up his virtual leadership summit on July 16th. INE will be having its virtual retreat coming up Thursday, right? Wednesday, Thursday. There will be a National Wild Turkey Federation Deer Hunting 101 workshop at our Arcadia Center on August 15th. That's on a Saturday. The Council to Advance Hunting and Shooting Sports, who was going to hold the National R3 summit in Broken Arrow, August 26th and 27th. We ended up deciding that it might be best to put that off till next May. And so instead, they're going to have a virtual R3 workshop August 26th and 27th. I know a lot of our staff will be availing themselves of that. We can discuss maybe later in the agenda if you want. The September 8th and 9th, we were planning the commission meeting and some tours down in Broken Bow and Idabel. So we'll see. I know some have mentioned concern about rising COVID numbers in McCurtain County. So we'll plan however the commission wants to plan. The National Association of Fish and Wildlife Agencies is having their virtual meeting September 9th and 15th through the 15th. So that'll be another multi-day sit in front of your computer screen event for a lot of staff. And then I believe the next foundation meeting is going to be September 21st, 2 p.m., I think. So I'll just point that out. And we'll have more details on this soon, but we're kicking off a new partnership with DHS to get foster kids and foster families out fishing. We're calling it Fostering Outdoor Oklahoma Families. And so we may have a kickoff event South Lakes Park, which is, as you all know, is where we have the new PG-13 fishing dock, and it's a lake down in Moore that we stock with fish. And so stay tuned for more details. We're still sort of sorting through the COVID experience and how to pull that off. But yes, ma'am.
I had a question about that. Are they doing multiple ones around the state, or is it just centrally?
Well, the plan is to kick it off right here in central Oklahoma. But yes, we're talking to DHS about, they've got regional offices and county offices all over the place, and foster kids and foster families. So we definitely plan to expand this into a regional experience that hits all those families and foster kids across the state.
I bet a good location, Southeast Oklahoma for that.
Yeah, great. We'll be in touch then,
Yes,
see if
we
we can
will.
plan something. I may have to go sample it first, but just to make sure, but just plan. So I won't read the, I think, 6-page director's report. I'm sure all will be glad to hear that I'm not going to read that to you, but it just goes to show that in the face of the COVID experience that everybody is having, work goes on. In fact, the Department of Wildlife work has been faster and more furious than ever. There's lots of folks getting outside and fishing and hunting and all sorts of things. So lots of work going on across the agency. I'll just point out a few things. There's a link in the Human Dimensions section to our new online game harvest web viewer, where people can go on and see 30 years worth of our game harvest survey data. Lots of good stuff going on there. On the fisheries side, again, lots of stuff. 69 spider blocks put in Stigler Lake, and I know I saw, if you follow any of our social media posts, you saw a short video of a project we did with the city of Grove at Grand Lake using mossback habitat and their underwater fish habitat structures. So a lot of new fish habitat got dumped into Grand Lake within the last couple of weeks as well. Fish were tagged at the Canton Walleye Rodeo, and staff assisted with that event and weigh-in. You may have heard about a unofficial world record paddlefish from Keystone Lake being caught, and then a week or two later, another unofficial world record, bigger even still, paddlefish. And we say unofficial because we're still trying to figure out if anybody officially records paddlefish that are snagged at the national level. I think Barry's efforts so far have found that nobody officially certifies them. Is that right, Barry? Yeah. Well, if you, well, I like that approach personally, but I've been referring to it as the new world record paddlefish. But got nobody fact checking me so far, so. I will also just point out several things in the I&E division there. And you can see, by the way, lots of fish stocking and stuff going on with our fisheries division folks. I keep getting too close to that microphone. We have 8 of our scholastic shooting sports teams. They'll be competing in the Oklahoma Wildlife Management Association's Sporting Clays event next weekend, and I believe they all received paid sponsorships, and I believe Commissioner Brewster helped pull that off. 12 teams now. All right. That's awesome. It will be fun to watch those kids kick the adult's tail, probably. Yeah. We've got some competitive teams, that's for sure. I also want to just, it might otherwise sound somewhat mundane, but I&E, Micah recently applied for a PR grant of over $500,000 to help do just sort of support hunter ed, hunter skill improvement, recreational shooting activities that we've long done in the I&E division. But because Congress passed the PR Modernization Act last fall, we're able to now put in for a federal grant and have 75% of that activity covered by the federal grant that we couldn't do before until Congress passed that. So I just wanted to underscore the importance of us being engaged at the national level. Sometimes people wonder if I'm spending too much time at national organizations or dealing with the congressional delegation and that sort of thing. And it just goes to show that those things can pay off if you can work to get them across the finish line. So that's a great example, and there'll be a lot more of that to come, because it also, that plus the Target Marksmanship Act that was passed last year will enable us to start paying for gun ranges with 90% federal funding instead of 75%. So, so several good things in the works for us there to help get more federal dollars. 60 Oklahoma fishing trail signs were distributed across the state. Thanks to Kelly Adams working hard to, there she is, get them all printed up and distributed to marinas and dock owners out there. Interestingly, our scholastic shooting sports guys, Damon Springer and Jason Smith, are going to be conducting training courses for 7 new schools. We typically add roughly 5 to 7, I think, new schools every year into that program. There's a long list, but one of them will be our first tribal group to get involved in our scholastic shooting sports program, and that's with the Cretan Nation. So we'll be working to train them in that shooting sports program. Website continues to see a surge. We had an increase of more than 100,000 new users in the month of May going to our website, and so that's in part people searching for something to do outdoors, but also we'll got to give kudos to Daniel Griffith, our relatively new webmaster, who, if you haven't been on the website lately, continues to make vast improvements, and we'll continue to work on that as we go along. You'll see some updates in there about our new Learn to Hunt and Learn to Fish programs, now that we've got R3 coordinators on board for hunting and shooting sports, and then a fishing R3 coordinator. We are off and running on those programs. In fact, Skylar, our new, not new to the agency, but new to as the R3 fishing coordinator for the agency, was able to apply for a grant from the Recreational Boating and Fishing Foundation, and scored one of their 10 first catch centers, they call them, which is a trailer essentially that's wrapped up in fishing messages, stocked full of fishing gear and equipment. And the idea is to pilot some new urban fishing mobile centers across the country. And Oklahoma was able to score one of those 10 first trailers. So we'll see some urban fishing events cranking up soon. If you haven't heard from the Wildlife Division folks, there's lots of bear activity out and about. I don't think any more than usual. It's just that time of year, the mating season, where they're pushing a lot of young bears out, and so staff's busy fielding a lot of calls. Staff also working to set up the new Sand Hills Wildlife Management Area, get it ready for hunting this fall. So lots of work going on there. We had 10 different landowners sign up for the Antlerless Deer Private Lands Youth Hunt program, which will provide opportunities for 93 youth this year to enter the controlled hunts. Our new, OLAP, our land access program began 3 years ago with an NRCS grant. Well, we got another round of $3 million from NRCS to continue and to build on that program. And there's no match requirement for that as well. So that's great grant money to receive from the NRCS to continue and build our OLAP program through the next 3 years. So that's great stuff. On the law enforcement side, I might just point out, and you can see there later some of their online training that they've been holding. But I do want to point out that 42 of our wardens provided security for the presidential rally that was in Tulsa on June 20th. So I know that they were at one of the vice president events, and then also securing the route from the BOK Center to the airport. So very professional and well done job, represented all of us very well. So thanks to the wardens for that service. And with that, I think I'm out of breath and people are about asleep. Are there any questions? Uh-huh. Oh, the August 8th Bat Watch Family Opportunity. So just let us know if you're interested. I'm pretty sure we got slots left, right? Especially if the commissioner, and if it's like you typically do, we meet at Boiling Springs State Park there to kick it off. Alabaster Caverns. Sorry. Yeah, if you haven't done that, just get with us afterwards. It's any other questions? That's Saturday, August 8th. That's next Saturday, the ODWC Family Bat Watch. So if you're interested and free, let us know. It's a fun time for sure.
JD, thanks for that report. Sometimes we think there's not a whole lot going on in the agency till you get a report like that, and it's quite extensive. And thank you for that report, and thanks for everybody's involvement in the different projects that we've got going on at this time. So next on the item is presentation of the May and June financial statements. Amanda Storp. Amanda?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, and Director Strong. I have for you today the June 30, 2020 financial statements and a little finance joke. Happy New Year, because it's our fiscal year, our new fiscal year. So, I know, so funny. But July 1st started our new fiscal year. So I'll go over the combined balance sheet for June 30th. As of June 30, 2020, our liability and fund balance is $433,330,567. Oh, yes, sorry. Our total liabilities are $15,353,219, and that leaves our total fund balance of $417,977,348. Our trust fund combined balance sheet has an expendable trust balance of $16,308,970, a non-expendable trust balance of $92,950,773, a pension trust balance of $118,471,982, a defined contribution trust balance of $3,702,810 for a total of $231,434,535. On our combined statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balances, we have total revenues of $55,530,667. That's a 1.71% increase over 2019. We have total expenditures of $61,948,783. That's an increase of 13.72% over 2019. And that gives our total fund balance of $35,306,282, which is a slight decrease of 1.71%. The combined statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balances for our trusts for the total July 30, 2020 is $12,608,108. And our total fund balance again is $215,125,565, compared to a 2019 fund balance of $210,874,145. And then we have a total of wildlife contributions for June 30, 2020 of $49,721. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I just thought of one other thing when I was looking at these contributions from National Wild Turkey Federation to the tune of, over 50,000 or close to $50,000 there. But the NWTF is having a online telethon on Facebook on Wednesday that we're participating in, talking about, and it's at the national level, what the partnership with NWTF has meant for us and some of the great projects that have been done and that sort of thing. So I just wanted to mention that. I think it's from noon to 7 or 8 p.m. or something like that on Facebook. So tune in if you happen to. I think we go on at 3 o'clock in the afternoon Wednesday for about 20 or 30 minutes and just featuring projects that NWTF has helped fund, and our new R3 coordinator, Casey Joyner, up in the Jinx office and that sort of thing. So tune in, show them some support if you are so inclined.
Thank you, JD. Ask for a motion to approve the financial statement. Motion, second. Second, Rob, you. Discussion? There being none, roll call.
Commissioner Brewster. Commissioner Barwick. Commissioner Hughes. Commissioner Gaddis. Commissioner Zell. Commissioner Dillingham. Commissioner Holder. Commissioner Mabry.
Next on the agenda is presentation of the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation licensing system. Amanda Stork. Amanda?
Yes, I'd like to introduce Mike Chrisman, the license supervisor. We thought now would be a good time to go over a grant report. And we just had our quarterly meeting and thought that you all would be interested in some of the information that they presented.
Good morning.
Morning.
My notes just in case. So a few weeks ago, we had a quarterly business review with our vendor Brant Information Services. They're our partner in Go Outdoors Oklahoma. Talked a little bit about what's gone on in the licensing system within the last few months and want to share some of that with you. Some recent wins and accomplishments. These cover about the last 180 days. We had Hunter Education Replacement hard cards. Those are collectible cards that just for Hunter Education certifications. Also launched, speaking of hard cards, new hard card designs for 2020. We actually recognized those artists in a previous commission meeting. So far, total year to date is about 33,000 cards thus far since launching the new card designs. So that's well ahead of pace from even 2019. Controlled hunt results, those were posted ahead of schedule to the delight of all. Actually had increased applications from 2020 as well by about 5,000. So those application dates closed May 20th, and then we released the results a week later on the 29th. Then the Tableau dashboard rollout. Our partner at Brant created a dashboard, a data dashboard, to show us exactly what the trends were regarding the COVID situation and license sales, for us to be able to monitor month to month and also year to date, year over year, showing exactly what impact, if any, they were having on license sales. The positives were that we're still showing increase in items, closing out July up about 15% for the month compared to last year, and still up 27% on recreational sales from 2019. So we're trending upward, which is always a positive.
Hey, you doubled the license revenue.
And then the Argentina Dove Hunt raffle, the Foundation's Argentina Dove Hunt, we were able to sell over 1,800 tickets for that raffle and raise $33,000 in funds. So that was an excellent promotion. And then finally, improved mobile user experience. This is going to be on any recent accomplishment or recent update that we hope to provide, because we're always constantly tweaking the mobile experience. More of our users are using simply a mobile device as opposed to a desktop or tablet. So not only from the sales performance side, we also like to keep track on what our vendor at Brand Information Services is providing. SLAs and KPIs, time to first response for any ODWC request, the average was 5 hours on that. Time to first response for a high priority or urgent request is an hour. And then time to resolution on all ODWC requests, again, these are internal, not help desk calls, is 15 days. And then for urgent priority requests is 12 hours. Call center survey results, these are conducted by our Go Outdoors Oklahoma Help Desk. So in addition to the hard work done in license section here, we have a call center that is open 8 to 8 Monday through Friday, and then 9 to 5 on Saturdays and Sundays. Customers can take a survey response based on their experience, and you have the results listed here. Always looking to improve on any score, no matter the number. So one of the things we are actually hoping to work with Brant on is they track the subjects for each of the calls that they receive. So one of the things we want to work with them on is there one that could be higher than others? What are the nature of the subjects? Anything we can do to help our partnership on whether it's helping the help desk, just as they help us, we can help them. A system pulse check comparing FY19 to FY20. As you can see, over 100,000 customer accounts created, 689,000 transactions processed, $23 million in revenue, and then over 1 million items sold through Go Outdoors for FY19. And you look at FY20. So we close out with over 126,000 accounts created, transactions at over 838,000, revenue processed 28 million, and then items sold as 1.2 million. Yes, yes. This basically puts all those fun facts into a graph, so you can see that we're trending upward in every category listed there, which is what we hope for. That's the goal in the end, no matter what system we're on. But it's good to know that we're in year 2 of Go Outdoors, and we're continuing to trend upward. More statistics from Go Outdoors, email addresses that we have in the system to help provide information and marketing to those people. Licenses sold, 60,000 licenses sold via activity packages. Activity packages were created as a one-click purchase based on the event, whether it's fishing, deer, waterfowl, turkey, etc. You click on the activity package to add it to your cart. It provides you with the licenses that you need for that. Helps to make checkout a little bit faster depending on the activity. 140 events created through our event manager, things like family fishing clinics. Rack Madness was an event that's used in the event manager, and so we hope to continue to use that as a means of registering folks through the system. And then last, the 46,000 help desk calls handled. That is year to date. So from January to now, our help desk has fielded over 46,000 calls. So that's good support that we're receiving on that end, in addition to the calls that we receive in license section.
Let me just point out one thing on that screen, the almost 770,000 email addresses that we can tap into. I&E, we didn't have a tenth of that 3-4 years ago, I don't think. So we have significantly grown our ability to reach out, and because of the new customer management system that this is all, the environment that this is all placed in, we can target different email addresses, or, so we're not sending deer hunters a big phishing campaign thing, or vice versa. So if we want to do targeted marketing, now we can do it better than ever. We can take a subset of those email addresses that we know checked a deer in last year and hit them with some message about CWD or whatever it is we want to really target them to. So it really cuts down on people unsubscribing because they're getting information they don't care about.
That kind of goes right into the next slide, talking about marketing and outreach activities, looking at, no, it's good. That's perfect segue. Digital ads, we looked at a $3.70 one ROI on our digital ads. Tess's video that we launched talking about the outdoors always being open had over 1.2 million impressions. So that was a very popular one that for fishing that we likely reuse in the fall. Hard cards, looking at over 53,000 sold through the last fiscal year. So those are popular and help generate funds for the Oklahoma Marketing Fund. And then talking about targeted emails, click-through revenue. This is sent from, these are email campaigns sent from I&E regarding certain events or to basically target any sort of activity that we want to promote. And this is revenue that's actually tagged through click-through links in those emails. So over $183,000 through that. Right, absolutely. So auto renew. Auto renew is another new feature that we've been able to use. We have over 17,000 customers enrolled in auto renew that basically keep a tokenized card on file that allows when their license is set to expire, a reminder sends out and then automatically renews their license. We have over 21,000 licenses set up for auto renew, and then over 25,000 auto renew transactions completed. The auto renew and renewal notifications have been features in Go Outdoors that helped get through the beginning of the license year, where for January and February, typically customers would have to come to us. We're going out to them, letting them know that their licenses expire, or they've already decided this is a good feature, and I just want to make sure my license renews so I'm not without it at the beginning of the year.
The piece of that too is, we talk about R3 all the time. Well, part of that, one of those R's is reactivation. How do you get somebody that hunted or fished before coming back into it? Well, this is a huge tool for that, right? Because their license is auto renewing, so they've got a valid license with them all the time, and they can just go out at a moment's notice and go hunt or fish because they know that license is auto renewing for them, and it helps reduce that churn, we call it in the business.
Absolutely.
You've done some refunds. If they call and say, I didn't mean for that to happen, can I get my money back?
Right. Typically, you'll get a handful of those. Hasn't been many because it's a new feature. Of course, we look at that. Certainly, we keep that in mind. But the fact that we still have this many enrolled in auto renew and they have not gone back to turn that off, it makes it more of that kind of subscription basis transaction. But it keeps people, especially without a license.
And if I remember right, it doesn't set you up automatically to auto renew, right? You have to go in and choose if you want auto renew. It makes it really easy for you to choose that, but you still have to turn it on.
Right. Yeah, it's an opt-in. Certain licenses are set up for auto renew, and when you go through the transaction the first time, it asks if you would like to set up for auto renew. You can easily click no, and then you opt in if you choose to do so.
So Mike, when you auto renew, you automatically get a license in the mail from the department?
It's not, those are through online transactions, and so those are emailed, those aren't mailed. But every transaction that's processed comes with a PDF copy that's attached in the email with the receipt showing the order.
So in essence, you always have a hunting or fishing license in your pocket then if you auto renew. Great service.
Right.
Yes.
So with the federal duck stamp, the electronic version of the federal duck stamp is only valid for 45 days. So you actually have to have the physical stamp after that time frame. So we don't put that one on auto renew for that reason.
Love to, but that's a
Yeah,
federal
right.
thing. We're working on that at the federal level.
So if you could get a federal duck stamp, it'd really be pretty helpful because many of you guys and gals, if you tried to go to Walmart and get one, trying to find somebody that knows anything about licensing is difficult.
So we do have it now where you can buy it on our app or online. You can buy the, and like he said, it'll be, the electronic version of it is good for 45 days, but you ultimately have to get the
Yeah.
hard stamp version, and it's mailed to you within that 45-day period. So we've at least taken that step to make it easier.
We'd probably want to take a look at the expiration dates because they're set at 45 days. So in order to display the dates that that electronic version is valid. And so probably want to look at any conflicts that may cause in terms of configurations, but it's something we can certainly look at.
Because it's not good for the entire waterfowl season, for example, for that very reason, because the federal government wants you to ultimately have the stamp in your pocket before the season ends. Yeah. You have to fill out HIP information and stuff for that, though?
That's federal, but I know.
Mark Walker, what are you gonna say to that one? I know. Right. It's a federal thing. It's from the Department of Redundancy, yes. Yeah, it's actually been growing stronger and stronger recently, though. Remember that this federal grant funding is based on the, the excise tax collected on the manufacture of guns and ammunition and bows and arrows and fishing hooks and rods and reels and boats, and that's what our federal grant money comes from. So as long as those things stay strong. Yeah.
Mr. Brewster, go ahead.
Yeah, if you've been down the fishing aisle, they don't have any inventory either. Yeah. Hmm. It would have shown on our system probably that you bought one.
Yeah, it's showing a transaction history.
Yeah. That electronic version, good for 45 days, expired before the end of waterfowl season, but it would have at least been on there that you bought it. And technically, no. Again, the feds require you to carry that stamp on you, so. I'm with you. Not our rule. Yeah, I know a lawyer that might represent you.
Any Any other discussion?
That was the last slide I had, so I'm open to any questions. We're on the plus side, 240,000. As far as total, I think the total customer account's probably gonna be in the millions, given our legacy data. That's something that we probably need to audit in terms of, obviously looking at what accounts are active and that sort of thing. But, I would say it's over 1 million records. Easy.
Thanks very much, Mike. We
Yeah.
appreciate your
Based on legacy data.
time, effort, in gathering all this information. So thank you and your staff. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, thank you.
Mike. Next on the agenda is Nels Roderfeld has some information he wants to pass along, a resolution, particular item here. Nels?
Commissioners, I'll just add to the last agenda item. It's been a pleasure to work with Mike and Amanda and the crew. We have a real symbiotic relationship between the licensing portion and the marketing portion and the communication portion. And it really makes a difference being able to be effective and carry out campaigns. The other thing too is just to say there's a lot of automation in that system. Automatic emails that go out that say your license is about to expire, all of those kinds of things. Those automated processes have really ramped up, I think, the service to our sportsmen, at least letting them know what's going on with their licensing. And obviously, I think some of them have responded pretty well. My agenda item here is I'd like to introduce Brandon Adams. Brandon grew up hunting and fishing in central Oklahoma and entered the outdoor industry as a career in 2006 when he joined Buck Ventures Outdoors as a pro staffer. He joined Major League Bow Hunter in 2010, where he eventually became director of operations. And it was during that time in 2018, I believe, when he began to undertake his quest to harvest all of Oklahoma's big game species with a bow and arrow, I might add. Brandon is now the co-owner of My World Outdoors, and we have a clip here that we'd like to play for you.
I realized what Oklahoma, my home state, had to offer. We had a black bear season and antelope season, and we had whitetail and mule deer, and we had an open elk season. All these tags are available over the counter to residents and non-residents alike.
And in talking to some of my colleagues, have never talked to anyone, met anyone, or documented anyone accomplishing that, much less with archery equipment. How cool would it be to do this in 1 year if you could? One of the hardest parts of getting all this done is obtaining the land, period. We're gonna skin it, eat it, cherish it forever. He comes in my face at 15 yards. I mean, that's what we all dream of. Dude, I got the 3 hard ones done. Holy cow. Stud of an Oklahoma mule deer. Unbelievable experience. That's an unbelievable buck. And I just finished off the year of my life here in Oklahoma.
Pretty neat intro there. So the commission asked us to put together a resolution for y'all's consideration, celebrating this amazing accomplishment and the incredible national promotion of Oklahoma's amazing hunting resources.
And with that, I'd like to read the resolution. Whereas dedicated and passionate hunters in Oklahoma are the key to the successful management of wildlife populations and conservation of healthy habitats and preservation of the sporting tradition. And whereas Oklahoma is one of the most ecologically diverse states in the nation, home to pronghorns on the high mesas of the Panhandle and black bears deep in the mountains of southeast Oklahoma. And whereas Oklahoma's hunters number over 430,000 strong and are a critical engine of economic activity across the state, generating $680 million annually in retail sales. And hunters account for more than $66 million in state and local taxes. And whereas Mr. Brandon Adams, a native of Prague, Oklahoma, has proven to be a distinguished ambassador for hunting in Oklahoma and across the nation as producer of the television show Major League Bowhunter and co-owner of My World Outdoors. And whereas in 2018, Brandon Adams was believed to be the first individual to harvest all 5 species of big game in Oklahoma in a single year, and furthermore did so with a bow. Those species being mule deer, white-tailed deer, black bear, elk, and pronghorn antelope, and collectively constituting the Oklahoma Grand Slam. And whereas this accomplishment served to raise awareness of Oklahoma's unique diversity of opportunities for hunters and showcased Oklahoma as a diverse big game destination to thousands of hunters across the nation, now, therefore, let it be resolved that the Oklahoma Wildlife Conservation Commission does hereby recognize Brandon Adams for his outstanding contributions to the hunting community and his promotion of hunting in the state of Oklahoma.
The motion, to approve, right?
Yeah. I've known Brandon for quite a while and, quite a gentleman and young man, and I know he's worked very hard to get this accomplished. Like I said, to do it with a bow is, just unbelievable. And to do it in 1 year is even greater accomplishment. But, we wanted to recognize, Brandon for this accomplishment, and, we would also like, we need to have a vote, motion to approve this resolution by the commission. So it has motion by Zell, second. Hughes, discussion, roll call.
Commissioner Brewster, Commissioner Barwick, Commissioner Hughes.
Aye.
Commissioner Gaddis. Commissioner Zelf. Commissioner Dillingham. Commissioner Holder. Commissioner Mabry.
Aye. So you're gonna do that again next year, Brandon? You're gonna wait a while? Yeah.
We'll let you speak, say a few words if you'd like, put you on the spot. Perfect.
Y'all, I'll be brief, although brevity is not necessarily my strong suit, if you ask my wife. I'm just grateful for the recognition and the invite to be here right now. As everyone in this room probably recognized, this wouldn't have been possible without my lovely wife back there, who's back there filming right now, probably live streaming on Facebook. Her and my 2 little girls, Addison and Brooke, have been incredibly supportive during this adventure and in my whole career in the outdoor industry. Special thanks to Mr. Mabry. Me being in contact with the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife is through you. I reached out to him after I'd fortunately accomplished this, and you guys set me up with tremendous resources to complete the film. You know, really in a spectacular way. The film turned out phenomenal, and it's doing exceptionally well online right now too, and that's a huge part to you guys. So, just grateful and thankful for everyone in this room. As a silly redneck from Central Oklahoma, and a person that gets to travel a lot and see in a lot of different states, I will give a huge thanks to everyone in this room. Oklahoma it says it there in the intro, it's a hidden gem. And that all starts with everyone in this room. And I'm exceptionally grateful to be here, and I'm exceptionally grateful to be from Oklahoma. So, thank y'all. Do what? Yeah. Got my mask on.
Come on right out here. Come on right out here. Oh, out there.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'd like the department to give some consideration to establishing type of Grand Slam award. Other things to accomplish this feat, or to have some type of grand club that has some prestigious importance to us, at least, for the hunters and fishermen of the state. Maybe start an organization, I don't know who wants to try to accomplish this. If we want to just limit both, or if we want to open it for them also, but I'd like somebody in the department to get a look at that, about establishing some type of club or organization. We could have some type of plaque or something on the wall, or hunters who accomplished this feat. If it's guns, your wife will give them a plaque, so. But anyhow, I think it'd be a real honor. I think we'll get a lot of attention and encouragement to people who want to accomplish this.
I think that's a great point that you make, John, that, it's quite an accomplishment. We might have a wall of fame and, you know, you might have the super slam as what Brandon did with a bow, and then you may have a slam for any other weapon, whether it be muzzle loader or rifle or archery or a combination thereof. So, Brandon, I thank you for that accomplishment. It's been quite a feat, a lot of effort on your time, and I know a lot of landowners gave you permission to hunt those animals, and you can only do that in Oklahoma. All tags are over the counter tags, so it's quite a feat, and it speaks well for our state. The governor talks about us being in the top 10 state. We're, I think, right up there with any other state as far as big game animals. So again, thank you, Brandon, and thank you, John, for mentioning that. And I'd ask the director to work on that if he would, please. So, thank you very much. Next item is recognition and presentation of Wildlife Division Biologist Technician of the Year Award recipients, Dallas Barber, and Emily Clark. Bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners, Director. You know, it's a pretty awesome accomplishment, Mr. Adams. What gives me great pride is, you know, being Chief of Wildlife, the conservation management side of it, and my staff, as well as Nathan from the protection, his staff provides, and the direction of this commission and director, that we're able to afford that opportunity for such an accomplishment. It's a pat on the back, I think, for all of us. So kudos to Mr. Adams for being able to pull that off. And it's going to roll right into our recognition of our Biologist and Technician of the Year award. It's exciting times for me to be able to present this. Unfortunately, we didn't get to have our Wildlife Division meeting that we normally have in May due to COVID and budget cuts and everything else, where we normally present this in front of their peers, but it's exciting to be here today to be able to do so in front of the commission. In Wildlife Division, we've been recognizing our biologists here since 1988, so it's a long-standing tradition. In 1997, we started with recognizing our Wildlife Technician of the Year award as well. Just a real quick process. We have a nomination process. Supervisors usually nominate them, and then the regional supervisors, assistant chief, and myself review them and rank them. And as you can see this year, Dallas Barber and Emily Clark came out on top. So With that, in the spirit of being brief, I had 2 to 3 page nomination forms, but I asked staff to put together some bullet points here to hit the highlights, and there's about 7 or 8 per individual, so if you'll bear with me. So Dallas Barber is our big game program biologist, meaning he's responsible for overseeing the management and conservation of white-tailed deer, mule deer, pronghorn antelope, elk across the state. He even has an occasional bighorn sheep duty pop up in the far reaches of the Panhandle, Commissioner Dillingham. So Dallas has done a great job helping maintain Oklahoma's position as one of the best managed deer herds in the nation. He was a key voice in assisting with the development of our new license and e-check system. He's also pioneered new ways to analyze and present harvest data that no longer relies on outdated and cumbersome programming. His work each year on the herd health evaluation requires long days of planning and long nights of work. Together with his technician, they coordinate with landowners, wildlife division staff, and game wardens to secure locations from which deer can be collected for necropsy. In the past year, Dallas helped refine and shepherd a chronic wasting disease response plan that spanned multiple agencies with sometimes competing interests and constituent bases through a maze of meetings and reviews to see it cross the finish line with commission approval in November of 2019. Dallas also drafted several rule change proposals for better management of our wildlife resources, as well as updating the state's white-tailed deer management strategies and overview, which he presented to this commission this past December. When a captive elk breeding facility reported positive CWD test, Dallas was vaulted into the position of directly assisting with the response plan. He and his colleagues developed and implemented an action plan to depopulate captive elk, including trace forward animals as needed. Dallas is the face and voice of deer management in Oklahoma and couples his professionalism with a very personable people skills. So with all the challenges Dallas faced this past year and the way he stepped up and took them on, it's my pleasure to recognize Dallas Barber as the Wildlife Biologist of the Year for 2019. You want to do photos now or later? Congratulations, Dallas.
Thanks, Jess, I appreciate it.
Biologist of the Year. Want to wait and do the tech also? Okay. Thanks for gonna wait. Okay, so the second part of the presentation, which fits in nicely with the program for today, is Miss Emily Clark, who is our big game program technician. Emily routinely handles the day-to-day operations of our Deer Management Assistant Program, or DMAP, coordinating 95 plus cooperators, handles new signups, equipment purchase, data entry and editing, report production and mail out, as well as aging jaws and running down late or missing reports. He also does the same coordination with our damage control permits in the DCAP program. Past year alone, Emily was responsible for upkeep of over 1,600 permits issued to 139 separate properties. She reviews applications, sends permits, and is tasked with reconciling harvest reports into a spreadsheet. Emily played a vital role in the CWD response plan as well, following the notification of the positive captive elk breeding facility. Whether working multiple days on the sampling team in 100-degree temperatures or working long nights to help sample animals from areas surrounding the facility, she never missed a beat. Emily is instrumental in the herd health evaluations conducted each winter. She helps locate possible collection and necropsy sites. She orders, maintains all the equipment, and Emily even runs her own collection crew independently, and also ensures that all samples are processed and mailed to the appropriate testing facility. Emily is quick to help other employees. She routinely volunteers at archery and school events, fishing clinics, goose banding, dove banding, and serves as counselor at the Game Warden Youth Camp. She's active in the department's FIT team and helped organize a cross-country archery event this past year. She's also an avid crafter, making items from hide, bones, and feathers of Oklahoma's wildlife. Her creations are such high quality that the Ponca City Indian Museum invited her to make items for them to use in their displays. Emily's a sole technician for the big game program. And I read off all the responsibilities of that program. There are a lot in this state. The level of her responsibility and workload that she willfully took on this past year is why I'm proud to recognize her as the Wildlife Technician of the Year for 2019. Ms. Emily Clark. Way to go. Congratulations, Emily. All right, we're gonna try to do it without mask real quick. No mask? Just hold your breath, go. In the middle. Hold your breath, don't breathe, get them right here. Yep. Hold your breath. All righty.
Thank you, Dallas and Emily. Very well deserved, and certainly appreciate your service and things you do for the Wildlife Department, so thank you very much. Okay, next on the agenda is the recognition of the Fisheries Division Professional of the Year Award, presented by Barry Bolton. Barry?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners, Director Strong, and Rhonda. Had to bring in the second string. The room didn't really accommodate everybody. Ken was going to do this, and Ken kind of drives the bus on our Fisheries Professional of the Year Award. Congrats to Dallas and Emily. Good job, guys. Let me tell you a little bit about our award today. We hired Richard Snow in February of 2008. It's the first year that I was Chief of Fisheries, Richard. I didn't even remember that you started the same time I did, sort of. Richard started out as a regional fisheries technician and then promoted to a little different job as a research technician. He was in 2014 promoted to fisheries research biologist and is currently serving, because we've had a little transition with our fisheries research lab in Norman, and he is our acting supervisor down there until such time as we can get that job advertised and filled. I'll never forget this because I challenged Richard Snow. Let me back up. I'll talk about our process because our process is interesting, a little different than wildlife does it. But our previous 6 professionals of the year are the panel that reviews all of the submissions that we get. So Ken and I don't, Ken votes only in the instance if we have a tie, but other than that, it's our employees that pick our professional of the year. So it's all the previous 6 winners, and then the 7th one rotates off. Richard will vote next year. So it's an interesting process. But back to the story I want to tell about this guy. I challenged Richard. I'll never forget, we were at a meeting in Texas, and Texas was doing a lot of alligator gar research. And I said, Richard, I said, I want you to put Oklahoma on the map with alligator gar research. And I said, I will support the projects that you bring to us. We'll find ways to fund it. Most of this is in-house, done by our people in Norman. And this was hard when I saw this number, a little hard for me to even understand. But Richard Snow is either primary author or authored 57 different publications in scientific journals. And he took the challenge that I gave him, and he ran with it. I mean, far more than what I could have ever expected anyway. Just a few words that describe this guy. He is so dedicated to his craft, and that's fisheries research at this point. And to the point that when he's doing alligator gar research at Texoma, there's a lot of my employees that don't even want to work with him because he drives that bus pretty hard, and they'll be out all night long running those nets, and they'll come back and they might make a sandwich or something, and they're right back out there. And this is, he's invited me to come down, and I said, I don't know if the old guy can keep up with you all, but I want to do it, buddy. Quiet leader was one of the things that was on his nomination. Sometimes he's not so quiet. He's got an opinion, and maybe the thing that I appreciate most is, of all of my employees, this guy, he is willing to discuss when there's issues. He will come to me, and that's a little hard to do sometimes, you know, come to your chief and say, man, we got to work on this. This guy and I can communicate, and I just want to say that I really appreciate him. Very deserving, and Richard, if you want to come up here and accept your award, I'll mention before he gets here that Bill Newman, one of our retired employees, you guys have seen these before, makes a pretty neat award for our personnel. And I'm proud to announce as our 2019 Fisheries Professional of the Year, Mr. Richard Snow.
You want to talk? Oh, no, I mean, they said he talked about the productivity, and really that spawns from, he said that I'm either a primary or a co-author. I have worked with a lot of colleagues within the department and with our colleges and also around the surrounding states. So this is just as much to them as it is for me.
Point out to your next agenda item as a result of the fact that he'll come up.
How far off was the guard from Texoma, off the world record? You know, the great big.
I was in, let's see, we're at 254.
Wow.
You also have to understand that guard was
96 years old, wow.
We're, you know, Texoma has a rich history of commercial fishing, and a lot of it is stopped with the fleet. Doesn't span too far past,
Very interesting. Thank you, Richard. Congratulations. Barry, I think you're still up.
All right, agenda item 14. Consideration vote to approve, amend, reject, or take other action on an emergency rule. This rule is found in Title 800, Chapter 10, 800-1015, actually, bag limits on fish. Essentially, what we're asking here in this emergency rule is for the commission to approve a change that it would take the regulation that is already in place at Texoma, which is a closure for harvest of alligator gar by any methods between May 1st through May 31st, and this would ask you to approve making this a statewide closure. Talked with the law enforcement guys in the field at Texoma mostly, and also with Nate and Wade, and this jointly kind of came from Fisheries and law enforcement. Very difficult to enforce the closure that we currently have in place and get the protection for these fish during that spawning season when they're very vulnerable. And what we had found was, talking with Nate and Wade and Billy Bob and some of the field guys out there, that even if they found somebody with one of these gar during this closed period, it was pretty easy for them to say, yeah, we got that somewhere else. It wasn't at Texoma in the closed area. So what we're asking today is an emergency rule that would allow us to close that statewide. Yes, sir. Commissioner, we've talked about that. I mean, it's a darn good question. We've asked that, and I rely on Richard on this. And I mean, could we extend it out a little bit on either side? Yes, we could, but we feel like that probably catches the bulk in most years of that period when you're most vulnerable. Would you agree, Richard?
Yes. Motion by Barwick, second by
Second by Brewster.
Brewster. Discussion? There being another roll call?
Okay, Commissioner Brewster? Aye. Commissioner Barwick? Aye. Commissioner Hughes?
Aye.
Commissioner Gaddis? Aye. Commissioner Zelps? Aye. Commissioner Dillingham? Aye. Commissioner Holder? Aye. Commissioner Mabry?
Aye. Passed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Barry. Next on the agenda is concerning the Oklahoma Wildlife Conservation Foundation. As Chair is Richard Hatcher. Richard? Sure.
Well, as JD mentioned, executive director, and will expound on that,
Yes, thank you. It's good to see you all again. I want to take a privilege here before we get started to say, as a recent customer of your new license program, I'm impressed. My wife just became eligible for senior lifetime license. That was close. So I was really dreading getting her her lifetime senior license because I was familiar with the old process. And JD said, you know, you can do that online now. So I went online and it was a very smooth, easy process. And so, Michael, you can add one more satisfied customer to your list of stats. Job well done. I just want to give you a quick update on what the foundation, the Wildlife Conservation Foundation, has been up to. The last, really, couple of years. We had our first organizational meeting summer of 2018. And for the first 6 or 8 months, it was working with the lawyers. Jim, we had to get our policies in place, financial policies, governance policies, bylaws. We had to apply for our 501c3 status, directors and officers, insurance, get our checking account, on and on and on. All the details that go with starting up a new foundation. In March of 2019, we finally got approval from the IRS for our nonprofit status. That, because of the government shutdown during that time, that took us 8 or 9 months to get that accomplished. But at that point, then we were ready to receive charitable contributions. We set up our Facebook account, set up our Instagram, Twitter. We did not have TikTok, fortunately. So, and we got that done about 2 months before Blake Shelton then gave us our first benefit concert and a great event down in Tishomingo, thank you. And $145,000 contribution to kickstart the foundation. It was a great program and a great way to start us off. So we began with a little bit of seed money, then we started a little bit of participating in the March Madness program. We bought lifetime licenses for a drawing. We've since done that twice more this past year. We participated in the Paul George Foundation's fundraiser at Topgolf for the fishing dock there at the local lake. And then we started our major donor database. Again, just trying to get active, get going. But we really didn't have a focus. Our mission really hadn't congealed. We knew we were here to raise money for the wildlife department, but we needed a message that could sell. So the next 6 or 8 months, we focused on board development, mission statement, vision statement, case statements, all of the things that would help us move forward when we went to the public and really started fundraising. We developed a major fundraising campaign, got some projects from JD through the Wildlife Department to focus on, and we were prepared to kick off this major fundraising event at our March 2nd meeting. You know what happened the first week of March. Then COVID hit, the economy went down, the oil and gas community especially was hurt. And so we did a quick reevaluation of our campaign, reworked our campaign strategy to a more realistic amount, and then had to postpone our event into the future. But we took this time then, since March, focus on getting our first executive director on board. This has all been volunteer board members doing all this up until now. So we shifted to a very thorough vetting process. Reagan Siegfried chaired our search committee, did an excellent job. We vetted dozens of applicants, and I'm very pleased to announce that we were able to come to terms with our top applicant, our top choice, Rick Grunman, who is with us today. And I'm very excited to introduce Rick to you. Let him talk to you a little bit about himself and where we're going in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard, Chairman, Commissioners, JD et al. I am Rick Grunman. Let me begin with the foundation needs you and needs your help. I was always trained when you communicate, you tell people what you're going to talk to them about, remind them, and then finish with it. What I'd like to do, my background, I spent almost 25 years with Oklahoma Natural Gas, its parent companies, One Oak, One Gas, and its Texas affiliates. The last 14 or so years, I was Vice President of Administration in two different states, Vice President of Rates and Regulatory for all the legal rate making and the spinoff, and I was also Vice President of Government and Community Affairs, interacting with city, state, and federal officials in all of our jurisdictions. I retired late last year, early, because my mother was ailing. Unfortunately, I didn't ask her or the Lord what their plans were, and 2 weeks after I announced that I was going to retire to take care of my mother, she passed away. It was her time, and it turns out to be a blessing. I'm glad she's not around during this time. But gave me an opportunity to either refocus on going back into the career I had made and that, or do a passion project. This is a passion project for me. At the age of 2 at Christmas, I had a Zebco rod at the top of the stairs and a little sand bucket at the bottom with a casting plug, and I would sit there for hours trying to hit the casting plug in there. There's pictures of me strapped to my dad and my granduncle's leg in a stream with a sawed-off fly rod, learning how to cast to fish at a young age. Started off with a BB gun across the alley with a big box, to a coffee can, to an Alka-Seltzer tablet. I'm a competitive guy. And my dad said, if you can hit an aspirin tablet across the alley, then we'll get you a shotgun. So got the single shot 410 at age 6. My mini slam, nothing like what we heard earlier today, but shot dove, quail, rabbits, ducks, and even got a goose my first year with a single shot 410. I've been eating up with it all my life, and I think I work to make enough money to go hunt and fish in a lot of pretty neat places, but no place neater than Oklahoma. I'm excited about this opportunity. I've spent quite a bit of time, of JD's time. This first month, I started July 1. JD and I have met multiple times, have met already with one donor, received a check from one donor, and we're meeting with another potential one this afternoon. Happy to say that we agreed, just as I was coming on, the board agreed on the Grondike naming of this building to take over the project to help the department, and just secured the second donor, got $20,000 into the bank. I think this morning it should have come in, so we have fully paid for the naming of the building.
with donors, so the foundation stands exactly where it was from a money purpose when we started. We are going to be focusing, been working with JD on a lot of the projects and where we want to go. I've been meeting with the different board members. Had an opportunity to meet with Commissioner Gaddis, and I'd like to meet with each of you individually to hear, what your passion is, how you can envision how you can help the foundation, help the department. We hear about these opportunities with federal money and others. Let's move the needle. So with your help, with the board's help, I'm spending this first few months trying to bring together information, use the information from the outside vendor that came in to help initially, put all that together, have a strategic plan. My background is in strategic planning, process improvement, and just getting things done. And that's what I want us to do. And with your help and other people's help, we're going to have a targeted plan. We're going to move the needle. We're going to get some projects done, and we're going to get some money in. And with that, I can take any questions you may have. Thank you.
Hey, Richard, I think you, go ahead, John.
He just said welcome aboard.
Okay. Richard, I think you picked the right guy. Sounds like he's very passionate about what he's doing. Thank you. With Susie. Any new business? No new business. Discussion of any matter not known about or which could have not been foreseen, reasonably foreseen 24 hours prior to the scheduled meeting. There being none, the next meeting is going to be in September. We'll have some discussion of exactly where it's going to be. Commissioner Brewster?
Early in March, April, May, there was tourism.
Yeah.
But as most of you know, the tourism hotspot, all the people coming in. Following.
Right.
Love to have some fish down there. I've seen most of the stuff.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I visited with Commissioner Brewster earlier about this a few days ago, and I did go in and look at the numbers. I mean, in McCurtain County was, I think it's well over 850 some COVID cases at that time, so it probably would be a good idea to maybe change that meeting down there for another, maybe in 2021 possibly. We discuss that further though.
Yeah, that's your decision ultimately, so we can follow up and we'll just make sure we let everybody know well in advance, if it'll be relocated to here in September. I did mention when we talked about it beforehand, it sounds like from talking to our biologist, one of the key features of the trip was to go down and see alligators at Red Slough WMA. Apparently September's prime time for that, and so if postponing a month may not work. We may be looking at September of next year, but we'll work that out with
Okay.
you.
Thank you. There being no further business, Wildlife Commission meeting is adjourned. Thank you for coming today.
You can go to the Eagle Nest if you want. We just gotta make sure we don't have a quorum. Is it just gonna be your community?